Hello there, and welcome to another edition of the Husker Online Show. Sean Callahan, Steve Sipple, Robin Washit. It has been busy, to say the least. We've got a lot of unpacking and catching up to do here, as it is probably one of the busier off-season weeks you're going to see in college football. But before we get to that, the Husker Online Show brought to you by our title sponsor, StayHome.Care. They are there to help the loved ones in your life. Simple day-to-day tasks, cooking, cleaning, rides to doctor's appointments, grocery shopping. You might have a loved one in your life that needs some assistance. You're not always there to help them. It could be a brother, a sibling, an aunt, an uncle, a parent. Give them a call. It's never too early to call StayHome.Care at 402-205-2233. They're there to help you, your home, our care. That's StayHome.Care. But guys, they call it silly season in college football, and we got right into it on Monday immediately. By 9 o'clock Monday morning, Tony White was no longer coaching at Nebraska, more or less, off to Florida State. And there had been a lot of speculation about this coming down the pipes, that White could be leaving after the Iowa game, and it happened pretty quickly. Then in the meantime, we've seen Dykeel Shorts from Kentucky. We confirmed at Husker Online that he is in Lincoln. And that's a guy that Dana Holgorsen coached, and he coached for Dana Holgorsen as well at Houston. And he's been at Kentucky for 1 year. He's being looked at to join as Dana Holgorsen's wide receivers coach. Garrett McGuire would stay on, though, in a different role, according to a program source. So a lot going on. And Terrence Knighton and the rumors about him being courted. He's been a part of bull practices, though, and been a part of recruiting and things behind the scenes. But, man, where do you start, Steve Sipple?
Well, I think where you start, I mean, here's Babe in the Woods, but I think we're going to be doing this pretty much every year. No. I'm saying every year, this sort of volatility.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's going to be staff. I mean, there's more staff volatility than ever. I'm not saying every year you're going to have new coordinators, but there's always going to be some staff changes a lot of the time. And then the portal's just, that's the world. Mm-hmm. You can't overreact to it. You don't want to underreact. It's just sort of a sweet spot you have to hit. But I don't think we need to fly off the handle every time somebody with 9 tackles goes into portal.
Yeah, especially when people should have seen a lot of movement coming, given that Matt Rule himself said he expects almost 50 departures because of the new roster limits that are coming whenever they eventually happen. So like they expected a significant amount of attrition. And I guess the good news for Nebraska is maybe outside of Jamari Butler, you know, it's been maybe those next tier level of guys. You haven't seen the big names hit the portal yet, which, you know, there's always time, but so far so good.
And we'll go into all the names in our next segment on the portal. I want to stay on coaches in this opening headlines.
Okay.
Keep coaches, then portal in our next segment, then we'll go bowl game. I mean, we're not even going to talk about the Iowa game. I mean, that's just old news at this point, even though it was an excellent performance by the defense. Nebraska fell short in Iowa City. But back to the defense. I mean, when you look at this move, you know, where do they go for the coordinator? Obviously, internally, John Butler's a name, but the sense you get right now is that John Butler, you know, may not be the guy, that they could go on the outside as well to bring in a new defensive coordinator after the bowl game.
We're doing this early in the week, and I don't think I've discussed it with you. That is my sense too, that it might not be Butler. And we don't have any firm names. That's something we're going to have to start getting a handle on. Who Rule might be looking at. Could be as simple as Phil Snow. We could be wrong. It maybe he would turn to John Butler. I am going to say this, Sean. I don't know that I think this White thing, I don't think a lot of people knew it was coming down the pike. I thought it happened pretty quickly.
Especially before signing day. It's kind of, I mean, in the coaching world, it's a little bit of bad juju to do that to your previous multi-million-dollar institution that's paying you to leave days before signing day.
I mean, we were just hearing a little bit about it. We didn't hear a lot about it before the Iowa game, some. And then boom. I mean, it happened. And then boom.
Think of the disruption, Robin, it causes, though, for a recruiting class. 2 days before signing day, all the phone calls and texts that have to be made to kind of calm the waters.
Yeah, that's why I think that the biggest surprise is just the timing of it. I mean, think about it. We've been discussing, is Tony White going to leave for like the last year? So like the fact that he's moving on isn't a total shock. Like that's been in the conversation for literally since the end of last season. Now I think it's the surprise is that he did it when he did it, or at least the news got out when it got out. And so, and the fact that it's not a head coaching job, that he left Nebraska for, I don't know. I think you can debate whether it's a lateral move. I mean, he's going to a much more fertile recruiting hotbed. You know, I don't know, lateral not
to make more money. Is my guess.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess he's got his reasons, I'm sure, to make that move. But the fact that it wasn't for a head coaching job, that's a surprise. So for me, the biggest surprise are that he went coordinator to coordinator, and then he did it 2 days before signing day, just on the heels of the end of the regular season.
Do you think Sippy had total control of what they were doing on defense? And maybe he felt like he wants to go somewhere like Florida State where he might have more total control versus a head coach who was a former defensive-minded guy in Matt Rule?
No, I don't think he had total control. I don't. There's a lot of coordinators who don't. There's a lot of, and some coordinators really want it. I don't know if that's a factor. It could be a factor.
Like Dana Holgorsen has total control of this offense.
Yeah, he would have a good chance to have total control.
If you had to guess,
know. Yeah, you never know. You're not on the headsets. We're not on the headsets, so I don't. Yeah, I mean, he has the experience and resume that would suggest he could. What has happened with Tony White? I think it's Rob. I don't think it's as cut and dried as him just taking a job. I mean, it probably wasn't perfect at Nebraska. Is what I'm saying, and I don't want to act like we don't know some stuff. I mean, I don't think it was perfect. So there's a lot that can go into those decisions, but I just was kind of struck by we just started hearing about it last week, and B, Florida State wasn't what I was hearing. I mean, so that part took me by surprise, and frankly, the Dana Holgorsen news took me by surprise. I don't think we knew that was coming that day.
It sounded like they settled the contract on Saturday. So
Dana was off.
And if he
didn't get his day off, that he
No, he was excited about that.
Well, the lawyers. I mean, remember right. Matt Rule and Dana Holgorsen used the same agency.
The same
Athletes First, it's called.
Yeah, Athletes First. That's
and right. So I'm sure it's a pretty easy thing to get figured out. And a lot of this is like, all right, how much are we going to make Houston pay? Mm-hmm. And I have the numbers here. Houston obviously is set to pay Dana, I believe it's 4.5 next year.
Okay.
But I have it broken down here. Hold on. I just sent this to Mick for Big Red Wrap Up. So in 2025, Nebraska will pay Dana 1.2 and Houston 3.3 million. In 2026, Nebraska had paid Dana 1.2, and then Houston is still on the hook to pay him 1.56.
Oh, okay.
So he'll make 276 next year. He'll make or 4.5 next year, 276 in 2026. Then in 2027, Houston would still owe Dana Holgorsen $2.82 million.
Okay. And he made 4.2 million this year, I believe.
4.4. Yeah, he had a deal where it went up 100,000 every year. Okay. And so
Sean was more confident that he would be retained here than I was. I will say that. I wasn't unconfident. Mm-hmm. I just had an open mind about it. Like, we'll see on this. Sean, you were pretty resolute.
I think as long as he had the control that he wanted with some coaches and how they play, that's what it was going to take.
Yeah, I was the same way. I think on our RSS live chat that we do last week, that people are asking percentage he stays. I think I said 70. Sean was probably a little bit higher. I don't know exactly what
50.
You said. Yeah, so you were by far the most leery about it.
Mm-hmm. So I'm glad they got him, though. I think it's critical.
Yeah,
I really believe
it's the biggest domino of the offseason thus far.
Yeah, and it sort of slid in a kind of an avalanche of news yesterday and didn't get talked about much. But it's a gigantic turn of events because that's the kind of guy that gives you a much better chance to win going forward.
Well, then how about him having Yankee Hill shorts already in town?
Right. And you think that'll happen?
Yes. The intention of him coming to town is to make him the guy. And he was Dana Holgorsen's wide receiver as a player at West Virginia, coached the position for him at Houston. He played in the NFL for a cup of coffee. Actually was a former teammate with Brandon Riley.
Oh, yeah, at Buffalo?
Yeah, I think they shared an apartment together at one point.
Is that right?
When they played for the Bills. But he was set to make $315,000 this upcoming year. He made $300,000 in 2024. So, the price tag to get, you're getting, in my opinion, another version of a Garrett McGuire in terms of the pay. But Garrett McGuire will still remain on the staff too. I mean, at least as of now, he has not been removed, and he'll have a different assignment, is what a program source told us.
So that's a lot. Yeah, a lot was going on yesterday, including those two mega stories. I mean, when you're dealing with coordinator stories, that's gigantic. And yeah, Holgorsen's big because of his play calling prowess, because he's been a head coach. He's got so much experience, 13 years as a head coach. He's got charisma. He's got a presence to him. I think he can really help the skill position players, especially the receivers, which he's coached. He'll help recruit those type of players. He gives your program a big name. All that is incredibly important right now to Nebraska, and he'll challenge the head coach, and I think that's good too.
All right, when we come back, I want to go through the portal entries thus far. We'll weigh in on who's entered for Nebraska. We'll hit on that next. You're listening here to the Husker Online Show, and we're back here on the Husker Online Show. Sean Callahan, Steve Sipple, Robin Washut, brought to you again by our title sponsor, StayHome.Care. They're there to help the loved ones in your life with every simple daily task you might need. It's never too early to give them a call at 402-205-2233. Learn about the services and what they might offer for those loved ones that might need help in your life. And we're also brought to you by Omaha Steaks. And Robin and Sip, you guys got your boxes, right?
Did.
Absolutely.
Well,
already like halfway through them all.
Omaha Steaks right now has its biggest sale of the year going on right now.
God, look at that.
You're not only going to get 50% off site-wide at Omaha Steaks, we're going to give you an additional $30 off with the promo code Huskers. Omaha Steaks has been around for 5 generations, delivering one of the world's best steak experiences. They have great gift options. For that loved one in your life, it's hard to know what to get them. Go to omahasteaks.com. Use the promo code Huskers. They're already discounted. We're going to give you another $30 off with the promo code Huskers again at omahasteaks.com. Thanks again to Omaha Steaks for sponsoring us here on the Husker Online Show. Have you grilled it up yet, Sip?
Even if you don't love the person, get it. That would be a good.
Get it for yourself.
Yeah, I got it. From
I found myself going on there. Like, you know what? I'm just going to get this for myself.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'll tell you what, food advertising is incredibly effective. Looking at those pictures, I just literally got hungry.
I grilled up the steaks, and the steaks are good on their own. I mean, I'm not usually a seasoning guy. Salt and pepper, it's all I need. But they sent a little bottle of the Omaha Steak seasoning, put them on the steaks. It was phenomenal.
And that is their,
what is it? Like, what's the seasoning like?
It's like a standard steak seasoning. I don't know. It's their secret recipe, but it was delicious.
And that's one of the holiday gift boxes you guys got that has lots of different choices.
Yeah, it had chicken, burgers, steaks,
hot dogs,
even some hot dogs, and some steak fries.
Ooh, I bet the hot dogs are good.
Haven't tried them yet.
All right, guys. Well, the portal is now official for Nebraska, and we've seen a number of players go in, and this is since November 25th. And we're taping on Tuesday. There's probably going to be more that happen if you're listening on one of our affiliates that airs the show later in the week. Daniel Kalen has gone in at quarterback. Running back Gabe Irvin Jr. Last week, wide receiver Malachi Coleman. There's been 3 D lineman edge players, Jamari Butler, Vincent Jackson, and Princewell Umanyelan, and then linebackers Makai Bayer and Stephon Thompson. I want to start first with Kalen. I had heard chatter of that. I believe I hinted in Tunnel Talk. That's one I'll be watching closely. And look, he was backing up Dylan Raiola, and Dylan Raiola is the same age as him. So I think for him and his outlook, it didn't look great to get on the field at Nebraska. And I don't think anyone's going to be critical of his decision to enter the portal.
No, neither critical nor surprised,
No.
right?
No.
Right?
No. If he wants to play, he's got to get out of here. I mean, Dylan's the guy for the foreseeable future.
Now, okay, so the one thing I wanted to add for people that want to sign up for Husker Online, we have a tracker that's really important to me. I mean, I just get on the tracker all the time, Sean.
We're keeping a message board thread.
Yeah.
Because it has everything organized. And
It's hard to keep track.
It's hard to keep track. It
So you
really
need
is.
a tracker.
Yeah. So just all you have to do is go to our message board and get on the tracker, and boom,
Pinned
you're up
right
to
at the
date.
very top, first thing.
You're up to date. Those names that I mean, let's face it, Bayer is the leading returning tackler.
Mhm.
Okay. That's not small to me. I'm not suggesting he's irreplaceable, but this is a guy who had 49 tackles. Excuse me. Yeah, 49 tackles, 6 for loss.
And there's the tracker.
Yeah. Bayer, as you guys know, I like him. I'm not talking about a all Big Ten player or anything like that, but he's very solid. He's very physical and he's very knowledgeable of the game. He does his job really well. And maybe he's just in the portal to get some leverage. I would not write off these guys necessarily.
Yeah.
Remember Jamari Butler jumped in last year
did.
and then jumped out?
Yep.
Got some money and then jumped out, right?
So that's the money component. And then also guys jump in the portal just to give themselves an option, because there is a portal like entry deadline that you have to have. And so with all this questions about who's your defensive coordinator going to be, who's your position coach going to be, like you don't even know. So by entering the portal, you're at least keeping that window open to have the option to leave. You can always come back. You can always renegotiate whatever NIL or whatever you want to do there, but it gives you that plan B in case things at your current school don't work out. And you can see what other options are out there for you as well. So, I mean, as a player, it's almost like standard protocol in a lot of ways. If you have questions about your situation at your current school, enter the portal, see what's out there, and then that buys you some time to have other options in case things at your current school don't work out the way you want.
It's really reasonable, Rob.
And, a guy that surprised a lot of people, though, was Jamari Butler. I think if you're a traditionalist and a fan, you're like, okay, this young man announced he's returning, didn't take part in senior day. On Mondays in the portal.
It's like 6 days earlier, he's talking about why he came back to Nebraska.
And look, Terrence Knighton is still here. I know there's this thought, he's going to follow Terrence Knighton. Terrence Knighton has not left Nebraska yet at this point.
See, now, how many of these guys end up at Florida State is the question, right?
Could they play for Florida State, though? Like, is Florida State?
I don't know what they have. Jamari Butler's very talented. I just don't know what they have. Butler didn't have the kind of year that I expected him to have. I don't know about you guys.
He's hurt a lot.
The Ohio State game was his one game. If you're throwing out transfer portal film, you just say, watch me against Ohio State, a team that was in the college football playoff.
20 now, but if you're a good coach, you'll watch other games. He had 22 tackles, 7 tackles for loss, 2 sacks. I would have expected 6 to 7 sacks from him this year, 5 quarterback hurries. He was banged up. I don't know that he missed much time.
He just didn't play a lot of snaps.
371 snaps on the year, 23 of the 41 snaps against Iowa he played. So, he wasn't one of them. He was in the middle of the snap count page for the Iowa game. Played at 49 snaps at USC, was graded out very low, though. A 33.8 run block grade on Pro Football Focus, 33.8.
So by far his best game was Ohio State, right?
Yes and no. He still scored a poor tackling grade. He was a 62-1. His best game on grade was Rutgers, 73.6 overall.
Okay, he can play though. He's a big. I mean, it's always about that to me. Defensive linemen are premium players.
And it's a defensive line that's already losing your 2 best guys. So now you got 3 starters.
Clean sweep.
15 hurries, 5 QB hits, 2 sacks.
Clean sweep there. And then Prince Will, again, I kind of expected more from him this year than 13 tackles.
He didn't do much.
I'm sorry?
I said he didn't do much.
He played 1 snap at Iowa.
13 tackles on the year.
Right.
Yeah, half a sack. I mean, if I would have told you in August, Prince was just going to have a half a sack this year, you would have said, what? Really?
I mean, there were people doing like front page features on it.
Right. 13.
Like thinking that he was going to be one of the faces of the operation.
Yeah, he was not. He was not that. So again, that's not the kind of guy that you should. Now, there's 2 schools of thought, though. I've talked to some people about this. Those are guys that you want in your program to develop. You don't want to lose too many of those type of guys. You've developed Bayer into a good player. Now you're losing him. Now that's the world. It'd be better, though, if you kept him. And that's, I wouldn't say that about all these guys. You can't say about all of them, it's better. They're better if they keep him. No, not all of them. but there's some that I would put under that category, and I would definitely put Butler and Bayer under that category.
And there, a lot of these guys are guys that you saw flashes of. Like Principal showed some flashes as a freshman. You're like, whoa, this could be a
He
dude.
did, and even
Malachi
this
Coleman,
year.
you saw flashes. You're like, whoa, this guy could be a dude. Daniel Kalen had, we in the practices we watched him go up against Nebraska's first team defense and look really good.
Yeah,
and so like you saw the picture of what these things could be, but in today's day and age, that's just hard to get to at the same school. I mean, the Ty Robinson spending 6 years at the same program are so few and far between now that that's just kind of the way of the world now.
Guys, what are we drinking, by the way? Cranium Energy Drinks. They are one of our podcast sponsors through our podcast company, and they're based out of Fremont, Nebraska. This is good. Cranium.
Oh,
what flavor do you have there?
Real
I've got the grapefruit.
Peach
real
rings.
energy. What you got?
Peach rings.
I'm sorry?
Zero sugar.
Peach rings.
Like I am off the coffee and I'm drinking Cranium Energy Drink, 16 ounces.
For silly
a
season,
second.
need energy.
You're not off the coffee.
No, I'm not drinking. I wanted something stronger today.
Oh,
a little
but
bit more.
you're
kick.
not
Yeah.
No.
as a policy.
He's capped it at 2 quarts a day.
And you were drinking all the Cranium, so I wanted to get one of these.
Was I? I was not. I mean, I had 3.
It's my first one.
Okay.
But thanks to Cranium, one of our great podcast sponsors as well, as you're getting us through silly season week here on Husker Online. When we come back, we're going to talk bowl game and what could happen with Nebraska on that. You're listening here to the Husker Online Show. And we're back here on the Husker Online Show. Sean Callahan, Steve Sipple, Robin Washed. Again, brought to you by our title sponsor, StayHome.Care. They're there to help the loved ones in your life with everything you might need. Simple tasks like grocery shopping, cooking, cleaning, a ride to a doctor's appointment. Learn more about their services. Call 402-205-2233. Also brought to you by Steve Sipple's favorite thing in the world, Mando. If you have not tried Mando, trust Steve Sipple. It's going to change your life. And we've got a great
I don't
gift
guarantee that.
pack for you as well. Steve Sipple sprays it on everything.
I do.
Does that smell? Put Mando on it.
Yeah. I mean, I have my shoes lined up in my closet. I just spray it inside.
Problem solved.
Yeah.
Abby's not on mine, but she's going to get her dad Mando for Christmas, I think, right?
I think it's a good idea. I think he'd appreciate it. Yeah, I just spray it. I sprayed it in my truck as a deodorizer. I mean, and I've got compliments on it. So
They're like, did you get a new truck? No,
it
just
smells
Mando.
good in here.
Go
Because it's Mando.
So here's what you got to do. You got to go to Mando.com, and we've got the Mando starter pack, and it's already discounted. You're going to get a ton of great items, including deodorant, 2 free items of your choice.
The spray is probably the biggest thing. It's the biggest. See the spray bottles is what you'd probably want to get.
What's your favorite one? Which one do you have? Mount Fuji?
Pro Sport.
Pro Sport. Yeah, because you're an athlete.
Because I'm a pro sport.
You're a big athlete.
High performance athletes need high performance deodorant.
Right.
But promo code is Husker at shopmando.com. That's promo code Husker at shopmando.com. They're going to give you $5 off, and they're going to give you free shipping. It equates total to 40% off the package of what you're going to get at Mando, shopmando.com. Promo code Husker. Thanks again to Mando for sponsoring us here on the Husker Online Show. But let's talk bowl games for Nebraska, because at one point it looked really promising that it was Tampa or Nashville. Then Michigan decided to beat Ohio State, and that has changed a lot of everything. Because if Michigan, which was a 3-touchdown underdog to Ohio State, gets drilled like they were supposed to, there would be zero interest in a Michigan bowl game. And there's not a lot of interest as it is, but the win over Ohio State has put them at 7 wins ahead of Nebraska. They're the defending national champions. They were almost a lock to the Pinstripe Bowl, but after their win, now Michigan looks like they could take the ReliaQuest Bowl from Iowa and Tampa. And then if that happens, Iowa would preference Nashville, and then that would put Nebraska more than likely in the Pinstripe Bowl, with PJ Fleck going out to the Mayonnaise Bowl,
Charlotte,
the Duke's Mayo Bowl,
the Mayonnaise Bowl.
And a lot of people, why not Phoenix? Why not Phoenix? Well, Phoenix is the last of the picks, and Rutgers would go to Phoenix. Now, Minnesota.
This all sounds like it makes so much sense that I'll be surprised if it's not how Sean lays it out. Keep going. I'm sorry.
And Minnesota and Rutgers both are the last 2 teams to play in New York, so they're not an option for New York.
It just seems like this has New York written all over it for Nebraska.
So New York has had 9 different teams from the Big Ten in their last 9 stage bowl games. They didn't play 2020. 2 of those 9 that have never played in the game, Nebraska and Michigan.
Yeah. Bam. We're heading to New York.
More than likely, that's where my chip is. It would take an upset for Nebraska to take away Nashville from Iowa.
This is basically all depend on Michigan. Like,
Yeah.
wherever they decide to go, Nebraska just takes whatever's left.
So Michigan is preferenced, and look, Nebraska gets some say, but Michigan's going to get more say. They just beat Ohio State. They're the defending national champion.
Yeah, they're appealing.
I mean, if you're a lower bowl like Tampa, like Nashville, or even New York, you may never get Michigan again.
The winged helmet is appealing. I mean, after that win and after, like you said.
Now, New York, I know people are concerned about the weather, but there is some appeal. It's a Saturday game. It's 12 noon. It's in Yankee Stadium. It's on ABC. So it's a nationally televised bowl game on Saturday at 11 a.m. Central.
The date again?
December 28th.
And you play an ACC opponent, right? Not an SEC school, so your chances of getting a win are a little bit higher.
Don't know who that would be. I hear Boston College. I hear Syracuse. I hear Duke. Those type of teams. I mean, come on. It'd be for us, guys like us going to Yankee Stadium would be memorable.
Yeah.
Going to New York would be memorable.
It is an open air press box, gentlemen.
Well, we got coats.
Bundle up.
Yeah. We have coats.
I've talked to people like fans that plan on going to the bowl who are actually like more excited about going to New York because it's a cooler trip than Nashville. I mean, just as far as like sightseeing and
Cooler
tourist
trip
stuff.
than Nashville.
It's a lot more expensive, but as far as like things to do, it's New York City.
So we're going to have if you're interested in going and look, planning a trip to New York, what airport to go into, transportation, hotel, it's daunting.
Yep.
We are going to have something set up. We're working with EB Sports out of Chicago, and we're going to have a charter trip to wherever they go. So if they go to New York, for example, the game's on Saturday, a direct chartered flight would more than likely leave from Omaha to one of the New York airports direct. And then there would be bus transportation to and from the hotel.
That's huge.
And there would be bus transportation to and from the game.
That's
And
the way to go.
obviously
Yes.
your hotel. So it'd be a 3-night trip.
Yeah.
And we're working with Zipline, and we're going to host this would be a Friday night or Friday happy hour Husker Online live show from the bowl site with Zipline beer on site, but they've got to actually distribute it through the Zipline brewery
At Yankee Stadium?
No, at the hotel or
okay.
at a location. Like, so Zipline and Acres, but Zipline they would help coordinate
I'm
a
sorry.
pregame event with us.
Okay.
And we would do a show from the bowl location
Sweet.
Actually, yeah.
on Friday.
That sounds fun.
If they played in the Pinstripe Bowl, and it would be the same for Nashville, be whatever. But so we're gonna make it fun. If you want to go on this trip, we have a website formed right now. It is ebsports.com/teams/Nebraska/HuskerOnline. So that's /teams/Nebraska/HuskerOnline. Get your name on the email list. And then when we get the bowl finalized Sunday night, the full trip information will be sent out if you want to go on this trip. And, it's, again, this will be if it is New York, it is going to be a hard one to kind of plan out on your own. And this is going to probably be worth doing it this way if you can.
Let Sean plan it out, because Sean can plan out a trip, and I'm not joking.
I'm
Seriously.
trying. Simple might go ice skating in New York City.
No, I'm not going ice skating. That's not part of this. But I'll be
I'll go skating with you. Sam.
happy to do the pregame show.
You're going to go watch Good Morning America on Friday
probably
morning.
not that. But there's a
Go see a Broadway show.
no, but I might go to BB King's Club.
You know where I might go? Katz's Deli.
Okay.
I want to go to one of those famous. If they go to New York, I want to go to one of those
Yeah,
Carnegie delis.
I've done it.
So I've only been there once, and that was when Nebraska played in the Big Ten tournament in 2018 at Madison Square Garden. And it was one of those deals where like you picked like 3 things you wanted to see, just because the list of like landmark places in that city goes on for days and days and days. So just to have all the travel and transportation taken care of for you on that package is worth it to me.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's eliminates like 90% of the headache, to where you get taken where you need to go and you just get to enjoy it from there.
So we'll have more information Sunday, and ideally it will probably fill pretty quick. I mean, if there was enough demand, they would do a second flight, etc. If it was Tampa, they were planning on over 500 people going to Tampa. And I think Nashville was the same way, but we should still have, a good number of people go, because I think options to get there are going to be hard.
We'll know for sure on Sunday
night. And we're going to hear ideally from Nebraska officials Sunday night as well. Now the team is practicing too, guys, believe it or not. They had Tuesday practice and they will practice Thursday this week, and they're lifting as well. So they're not shutting her down.
Oh.
So that they'll get, quote, 2 bowl practices in this week.
Yeah, they need to get bowl practice. They should. I'm surprised. A third practice would make sense to me. I know there's a lot going on.
Well, now then Sunday they'll find the game, and I would imagine
they'll ramp it up.
4 days of practice the next week.
Yeah, I should stay in my lane on stuff like that.
Come on, coach.
All right, when we come back, Abby Barmore will join the show. We'll take your questions in the mailbag. You're listening to the Husker Online Show. Back here on the Husker Online Show, Sean Callahan, Steve Sipple, Robin Washed, again brought to you by our title sponsor, StayHome.Care. They're there for you to help the loved ones in your life with all the simple tasks you might need. Call them at 402-205-2233. We're also brought to you by HelloFresh. There's no better way to cook and eat healthy than HelloFresh. And if you've never done it before, they make it so easy. They send you everything you need, the produce, the meats, the spices. Everything is sent fresh, not frozen. And it's you cook it up at home with simple to follow, easy recipe cards. And every week they offer, hundreds of different options of what you can order and what recipes you can follow. And hundreds.
Damn.
Depending on the meals you want, the diet you want, the desserts, the breakfasts, the lunches, the side item. They have tons of options. And you can say, hey, I only want for 2 people. I want for 4 people. You don't have to order a huge amount of food that you're not going to eat. So it is a really cost-easy way to cook. And we've got a great deal with Husker Online. Go to HelloFresh.com/free Husker, and we're going to give you 10 free meals applied over your next 7 boxes. That's 10 free meals at HelloFresh.com/free Husker to receive the 10 free meals across your first 7 boxes of HelloFresh. Thanks to HelloFresh for sponsoring us here on the Husker Online Show. Okay, let's welcome in Abby Barmore to the show in the mailbag. Where are you starting us off at, Abby?
Okay. Who do you think would be a great fit for Nebraska's defensive coordinator job?
That's a really hard question because I think it's going to be something like Tony White, where it's going to be a name that no one's probably even thinking about.
So you are ruling out someone like Phil Snow or John Butler.
Or, could it be like a random name like Gary Patterson? Will they go big? Will they stay internal? Or go kind of with an under the radar kind of Dana Holgorsen type name?
What about like a Jim Leonard? He's at the top of my list. That guy's good.
Oh, that would be incredible. If you had Holgorsen on offense and Leonard on defense.
Hello.
Yeah, that's game-changing stuff. I'd like to think Matt Rule's thinking like that. I don't know what Jim Leonard would say to that.
Right.
No connection. But I'm never the guy, Robin, that says, no, he'd never do that. You don't know. I wouldn't have guessed Holgorsen would be here.
Mm-hmm.
There were rumors that he was approached by Nebraska by Matt Rule initially when he was passed over for the Wisconsin job.
Okay.
He is now with Denver as the Denver Broncos defensive backs coach, pass game coordinator.
This would be a lot more prestigious. I get to be the defensive coordinator at Nebraska. It would put him back in the running for head coaching jobs if it goes well, which I imagine it could.
Hell, at Wisconsin.
Yeah, it would help recruiting to have a name like that. It wouldn't hurt it anyway. Rob, you haven't heard anything to suggest that's the case.
Just rumor.
I hope, you know what, that Holgorsen hire may be somewhat of a roadmap type or there's some sort of tip like that he might do something like that. He might try something like that, a bigger name outside the program.
Yeah, but that's it within the same agency as Rule, Athletes First, both Holgorsen and Rule, and that made that a lot easier to happen.
I wonder it'd be really hard to do this, but who's Athletes First got in terms of defensive coordinators? That'd be informative. And it maybe wouldn't be that hard to figure out.
I think Dana Holgorsen will have a voice in this process.
Oh, in the defensive coach process.
Just like he'll be able to say, hey, I've got some names here to look at too.
Okay, so Dana Holgorsen, I think you're probably right because he seems very aggressive. Like he's at the podium, at the way he comports himself. he's not a guy that seems like he lays back. You
Mhm.
know, he's ran programs before.
Mhm.
So yeah, he might be right, Sean.
Next question.
Okay. In that vein, how much say does Dana Holgorsen have in Nebraska's offensive staff?
Well, we're seeing it already with
Big. Yeah.
one coach already on campus on Tuesday, Dykeel Shorts from Kentucky, Dana's former wide receivers coach at Houston, who played for Dana at West Virginia. It's a matter of what other positions on staff, like what other changes could we see. You would assume that Satterfield probably wouldn't be back. It just doesn't make a lot of sense long term to pay a tight ends coach over $1 million.
Makes zero sense.
Even in the short term.
Set you up there, babe in the woods.
Right. Yeah, and the answer to the question is I would think he'd have a lot of say.
Yeah.
A lot of say.
As he
because
should.
because of what we've established. He's had 6 top 10 offenses. He's been a head coach for 13 years. And yeah, I mean, I don't think he'd come here and just say, hey, I'm at your beck and call, whatever you want. I think he wants to take charge, which he should. He should.
Okay. Which Husker that has entered the portal so far is the biggest loss for Nebraska?
Jamari Butler.
Ooh, I'm going Bear.
Yeah, I'll go Butler.
Oh,
The premium
Just
nature,
because of the position
premium nature.
and what they're losing on that position.
the
group.
bigs.
Yes.
Linebackers are easier to find. Bigs are not.
But man, they're losing. Yeah. I'm just going by production. I'm going by production. I mean, Bear had 49 tackles. He was just, you're got to be more productive at linebacker. I get that too. But
They're going to have to play some of these freshman D linemen. I mean, you think about some of the guys coming in, they might have to rely on a couple of those guys next year between Malcolm Simpson, Tyson Terry, and then Cade Pedshock out of North Dakota.
so you got Van Poppel.
Judy's coming back.
Yeah, Elijah Judy.
So that's
Elijah Judy and Van Poppel are gigantic right now.
And as of show taping,
Cam Linhart.
Cam Linhart has been at bull practices, so that's good news.
As of show taping,
Kai
Those-
Wallen, he played a bunch.
is he coming back?
Don't have a good feeling on that one. I wouldn't be surprised if he moves on.
The key guys, Van Poppel, Lenhart, and Judy. I could see those being your starters right there. I could see those 3 guys being your starters.
Are they
right?
going to play a 3-man front?
Well, if they play
Keona
a three-man
Davis,
front,
too.
right. Oh, I could see him being a starter. Yes, good point. See, they're not in horrible shape. I mean,
It's the one benefit of how much they rotated on the D line. They got a bunch of guys that saw action.
Yeah, and James Williams not in the portal yet, but that's another name I think we're all kind of waiting to announce. I don't, the feeling there doesn't feel very strong. We were told he wasn't at practice Tuesday, so that's another one to watch.
those guys we named, though, those 4, that's not a bad starting point
Mhm.
right there. You'd have to add some depth.
Add some portal guys, and you're
Yeah.
in good shape.
Yeah, the portal, and with 105 everywhere, Nebraska, there'll be players available. You've
Yes.
got to find the right ones.
Yep.
So, all right, what do you got? Let's see how much time we got left. Final question, Abby.
Okay. What is your favorite Nebraska bowl game outside of a national championship?
My favorite one ever still, and I'm probably taking Robbins, is the Cotton Bowl.
Yeah. That was mine.
And I went with my dad went out with us actually on a similar bowl trip that we're doing here with EB Custom Sports. But the Cotton Bowl gave us free tickets to Dallas Cowboys games, Phoenix Suns Mavericks game we went to when Steve Nash was playing Dirk Nowitzki. We got to go to that. You must have not went to any of that stuff.
It was the greatest hospitality room I've
and-
ever seen in my
And then
life.
they had NHL hockey tickets. And my dad went to all of it with me. Like we went to I didn't go to the hockey game, but we got to go to an NFL game, an NBA game, and an NHL game for free.
Mhm.
And then the hospitality room, it's open bar all day with high-end food and drink all day available to the media with games. And I remember they had a casino night for the media, and it was not the media, it was everybody. And I remember playing cards next to Will Muschamp. He was the defensive coordinator of Auburn.
Oh, yeah.
They had a
Wow,
media,
yeah,
they had a
wow.
media Olympics too, where there was pool, pop shot basketball, ping pong, and maybe some other games. And I entered the pool tournament, and I had the 8-ball lined up on the side pocket. And at that time, you were going to win a first generation iPod. That was big deal back
So
then.
what happened?
I choked.
Did you?
The 8-ball ricochets off the pocket, and the guy hits the next 2 in. And guess what I settled for? I went from winning an iPod to winning a fish tank, a giant stuffed gorilla, and a wagon.
A wagon.
Yes, it was the most random assortment of gifts.
They
I couldn't
sent
even.
it back for you. Didn't
Yeah,
they?
well, I know I put it on the channel 6, channel 6, I believe. Their TV truck, and Mitch Sherman with the I forgot
World
who.
Herald back
Yeah,
then.
I think he's World Herald back then. And he had just had his first kid, and so it was a little present
gave
for his
the
kid. Yeah, I
wagon.
got a wagon, a stuffed gorilla, and a fish tank.
God dang, I don't have any kind of story like that. I had no idea that was even going on in that bowl.
The game was
missed out.
cool though too. I mean,
It was the original Cotton Bowl.
Pat Summerall announced the game, Nebraska versus Auburn on New Year's Day.
Mhm.
I can't top that. I don't know what to say.
Well, you're a big Shreveport proponent.
Yeah, I don't.
You got to
I-
see Eli.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say Shreveport because everybody kind of makes fun of it. They think I'm doing it for ulterior motives. I'm not. I really enjoyed that trip. I enjoyed it for a lot of reasons. I mean, just the greeting we got as media. I've told that story of Hollowell, Diedrich, and Jamal Lord meeting us at the stadium, their first practice. They came out as we were walking up and said, "Hey guys, we really appreciate you being here," which was really nice of them.
You like the Alamo Bowls.
Yeah, Shreveport though I liked better. Quirky. I mean, the people were interesting. It was where I first heard the term when you put on at the end of a sentence, like I got to get my lunch on. I'd never heard that before. I got to get my tonight. Like I heard on the radio, it was interesting radio down there. And one of the disc jockeys would always say it, like, I got to go get my dance on tonight. And I thought it was super funny. So I was using on at the end of sentences for a long time.
Of course.
I want to get my
I rode
lunch
down
on.
to that game with Vershawn Jackson in a car.
Good God.
We were doing work for 1620 back then.
God, you were open-minded.
And we rode down together.
Nice job. Yeah, it was fun, and it was a fun bowl, and it was Eli Manning,
Yeah.
and it was
The best of all.
And why was it good? It wasn't that much pressure. You know what? You weren't covering anything that was that big of a deal, so it was kind of but they had the Bo Pelini thing going. That was a big deal during that bowl. It got finalized, I think.
Scott Frost helped coach in that bowl game.
I don't even remember that, but
Jimmy Burrow enlisted him to help with the DBs because they fired everybody.
Yeah, that's right. I do remember that now. But I remember Pelini it was late 2002, and it was before the 2003 season, and Pelini was being finalized.
And Steve Peterson was finalized on that bowl trip.
Is that right? I remember the bowl hotel. It was one of those hotels, the doors opened onto the outside.
A motel.
Yeah, it was a motel, and one of the World Herald writers, Liz Merrill, checked into another hotel because she felt unsafe. I could see that, but I felt safe.
I know what your favorite bowl trip was, the Polynesian Bowl.
That was fun. That
Hard
was
to beat that.
ungodly fun. With Zim,
Coach Mike Zimmer,
yeah,
Marvin Lewis.
yeah, that was fun. That was fun. All right, you got a lot there, Abby.
All right, when we come back,
Thank you.
we're going to keep Abby and Robin on. We're going to hit on regional volleyball and Nebraska basketball's great start to close the show. You're listening here to the Husker Online Show. Final segment of the Husker Online Show. Sean Callahan, Steve Sipple, Robin Washut, Abby Barmore. Again, brought to you by our title sponsor, StayHome.Care. They're there for you and the loved ones in your life. Call them at 402-205-2233. We're also brought to you by Tanner's Sports Bar and Grill. There is no better place to get in, watch all the conference championship games this weekend, all the NFL action, get some great wings. I'm a big fan of the char-buffed wings at Tanner's. Homemade, hand-battered onion rings, fries, burgers, chicken lips, great sandwiches. They got a great Reuben sandwich at Tanner's.
Ooh,
If you're not familiar with Tanner's, on 30th and Yankee Hill and Road in Lincoln, it's one of Lincoln's premier sports bars. They also have 3 locations in Omaha. Check them out again at Tanner's Sports Bar in Omaha and Lincoln, 30th and Yankee Hill here in Lincoln. You won't find a better place to watch all of the action. And if there's games that are on ESPN Plus or Big Ten Plus, they're going to carry them. And that leads me to our next guest here, Abby Barmore. Nebraska volleyball, they're on ESPN Plus this weekend, right, Abby?
Yes, yeah, Friday and Saturday if they win.
So
So Friday and Saturday night, 7:00.
Nebraska's the number 2 overall seed. And if they were to pair up in the Final Four, they would face Penn State. But to get to the Final Four, they'd have to possibly go through Wisconsin. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah. So if the seeds hold, then Nebraska will have to go through Wisconsin, beat them a 3rd time this season. The first 2 were sweeps. So That was quite shocking that Nebraska could pull that off twice, the sweeps. So beating them 3 times in a season, we know that it's definitely possible to do, but it'll be a little bit more difficult for them. And then Nebraska will have to potentially face Penn State again in the Final Four, and Penn State really gave it to them last week to earn a share of the Big Ten titles. So it'll be fun for sure. It'll be a real fun tournament.
Abby, what they're home though for the first 2 weekends, which is a huge advantage to get that. What do you think of their potential round of 32 draw? It would be Miami, correct?
Yeah, so they play Florida A&M on Friday, and then the winner of Miami and South Dakota State. So Miami's the 8th seed, and they're kind of regional. And then I guess if the seeds hold, they might play Baylor or Dayton, but I think Nebraska feels really good about their shot there. They're obviously a great defensive team, but they're going to need their offense to really step up and be great for these next few games. But I think a lot of people would be very shocked if they didn't make it to the Final Four.
All right. Well, there'll be full coverage, and it's Friday and Saturday this week, and we don't know if they win. They haven't set the dates yet. Would it be Friday, Saturday again, or could they play Thursday, Saturday? Do you know?
They haven't set the dates yet, but I think it would. So the semifinals for the regional is either Thursday or Friday, and then the regional finals are Saturday and Sunday.
And there's a chance one regional final could be on ABC this year, correct?
Yeah, I think all of them are going to be on
ESPN.
Yeah, ESPN.
I think one is
ABC.
picked up for ABC, if I read correctly.
Yes, correct.
Which you would like to think Nebraska is going to be that team that draws. They're the Kansas of Kansas basketball that draws the ratings, and we could see them on ABC for a big regional game. But all right, I want to shift over to basketball because Nebraska basketball is off to an unbelievable start, 6-1, maybe one of their best performances of the year in their 103-72 win, Robin, over North Florida on Sunday.
Yeah, if you want a picture of like the ideal Fred Hoiberg offense, that's it. Where they came out and obviously made a bunch of 3-pointers led by Connor Season, who has been absolutely on fire the last 2 games, but it was more than that. Because of that 3-point shooting element, it's opened up everything with their offense, where they scored 50-plus points in the paint. They shot almost 60% from the field. They were basically getting everything they wanted offensively. And again, that's partly due to the competition. North Florida isn't known for their defense, but they were able to basically control the game because of the hot start they got out onto. And this is a North Florida team that is no joke. I mean, they went and put over 100 on Georgia Tech. They beat South Carolina. They hung with Georgia. So they did not come to Pinnacle Bank Arena scared. And Nebraska dominated them from start to finish. And so that's 2 straight, paired with the South Dakota game last Wednesday, that Nebraska's offense is just humming. And, from where we were just a few weeks ago at the beginning of November, we're talking about, when will Nebraska take the lid off? When is this offense going to start going? They were winning with defense, but the offense was just slogging along. Well, now they're still playing high-level defense, and they're operating at an extremely high level right now offensively.
Interesting to hear Sean describe their start as unbelievable. I don't know if I'd go quite.
If they would have beaten St. Mary's, it'd be pretty unbelievable.
Yeah, unbelievable is a strong word. A very good start, though. I think
there you go.
They're on track. They're where they need to be right now.
I thought the game Sunday, early in the year, the first couple games, they were the roles weren't really established just from watching the games.
Not the same.
But now the roles really seem to be defined on this team. And it's important, Robin, because they open up Big Ten play Saturday in East Lansing on 3, and we have our own Massey rating predictions. They only have a 29% chance of winning this game at East Lansing, but they have the spread at 6 points.
Yeah, and a lot of that's just, Michigan State's playing some good ball right now, and they're an interesting team in that, maybe outside of Trey Holloman, Jaden Akins, but like they don't really have like that clear All-American guy that you're used to Michigan State having. What they do, though, have is a collection of a bunch of really good players. And so they can, kind of like Nebraska, have any one guy step up or any 2 guys step up at any given point. And former Omaha, Bellevue West product Frankie Fiddler's right in that equation, too. So they're an interesting team in that they're a lot different than what you're used to seeing a Tom Izzo team. Usually, this is the point where Michigan State's just kind of trying to figure it out, and then they get rolling February, March. Well, they're off to a hot start right now to where things are operating, I think, a lot faster than most would have expected. And so that's, I think, a lot of the analytics suggesting that's going to be a tough one for Nebraska is because Michigan State's playing so well. It's at home, and that's just a tough place to win regardless, especially with Michigan State playing as well as they are early this year.
Burke has a groin strain.
Yes.
Will he be available?
To be determined. So they took Tuesday off, and then we're going to gradually work him more and more in the next few days of practice. They'll leave on Friday, probably Friday late afternoon, for East Lansing, and he'll probably just be a game time decision. I assume he'll travel. A lot of it is just how the injury responds, and it's a tricky injury, which that was the word Fred Hoiberg used, because if you push it too far, it's the risk of re-aggravating it, and then it's a longer term situation. So right now, they're cautiously optimistic that he won't be out too long, but again, they got to be careful. And so if there's any doubt that he's not quite ready yet, they might hold him out for another one.
And these two games, you got I think they're probably sandwiched around finals week, Robin.
Yeah, I believe so.
You have Michigan State on Saturday at 11. Then I think one of the bigger home games of the year,
Yes.
Friday night against Indiana in Lincoln.
Yes.
December 13th, Friday the 13th. That game will be in Lincoln. And I think that when you circle home dates, that's about as big as it gets for Nebraska and how important that game is going to be.
Yeah, they have to go 1-1 over these next two. And if somehow they can find a way to steal one at Michigan State. But that Indiana game, like I'm putting that for Nebraska to do what they want to do this season. That's in that approaching must-win territory because it is a Friday night. It's Indiana, a team that you just dominated twice last year. And like the table's set for them. So do what you can against Michigan State. I mean, they'll have an opportunity to win that game. Like I said, Sean, it's only a 6-point spread as a true road game. Like that's a game that if Nebraska plays to the level it has been, they're going to have a shot. And then if you could get some momentum going Indiana, then you head into that Hawaii tournament with a lot of momentum on your side.
All right. Well, Nebraska basketball trying to get at least a split in these first two games. Nobody covers it better than Robin Washut. Follow Abby's work all weekend with Nebraska volleyball and follow Robin's work with Nebraska basketball. And Sip and I will try to cover the madness of what's happening with coaching in the transfer portal. How about that, Sip?
That sounds good. I got nothing else to do.
It's a good thing, too.
It's weird. You just kind of hit a hard stop of all the coverage of events you have to go to. Like, you're in this kind of routine of going to things. Everything just turns into at your desk at home. But it's
except Wednesday.
But it's busier than ever.
Right.
That's the thing about this time of year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so make sure you're on Husker Online. We'll have you updating, covering all of that. For Abby Barmore, Robin Washut, Steve Sipple, I'm Sean Callahan signing off here for another edition of the Husker Online Show.